because I think that we're in a room of distinguished enough gentlemen that we probably don't even need to have speakers. We got enough volume in the crowd of people with knowledge and information and resources that we could just kind of politic and build, and this thing will come together.
Right.
For the sake of Kwanzaa, I want to say Amani Napendo Ndugu Zanugu. What that is peace and love, my brothers. Or assalamu alaikum to all my brothers in the nation. There's a lot of brothers in the nation here. I was tasked to talk about economic empowerment through fatherhood. And so in order to kind of set the stage a little bit about what that means, I'm just going to share a few statistics to talk about it. And some of these statistics, when I heard these statistics, it was pretty alarming. 85% of all youth in prison come from fatherless homes. 71% of high school dropouts come from fatherless homes. 90% of all homeless and runaway youth come from fatherless homes. Keep going. 60% of youth suicides come from fatherless homes. When you come from a home where the father is absent, you're 4 times as likely to be succumb to poverty. Now, we're talking about 4 times as likely to succumb to poverty, and if you know anything about what the government poverty line is, that's a shame. The new poverty is the median income. So when we talk about economic empowerment through fatherhood, the first most important principle is the father needs to be there. You have to not only be there, but now you have to be present. Because there's so many of us, and not in this room, but of our community that have neglected that responsibility, and we're leaving our young men and our women to come out here and fend for themselves. One of the things that I understand is that if you're going to teach economic empowerment, it's going to come through some sound principles that they don't teach in schools. Now, here's what I recognize is that our situation and our circumstances as it pertains to our people is different than some of our counterparts. So we can't look at the traditions and the customs and the principles and the way of life that say the white man or the Jewish man or our Latin Americans or any of these other nationalities utilize. We're going to have to come up with our own strategies and our own principles. Ujamaa. Right? Community economics. We need to come together as a community. So first and foremost, there's a few principles that as a father you need to embody in your household. The first one is humility. Now, I'm not here to say that if you have a lot of money, but you don't have humility, you're going to blow it. But that is to say that if you have humility, there's a much greater likelihood that you're going to be a good steward of God has blessed you with. Amen? The thing is that humility, when we talk about humility, this is the essence of appreciation and gratitude. See, I recognize first and foremost, I won the lottery because I was born and I woke up this morning. I won the lottery because I was born black. And I was born black in America. And I was born black in America in 1983. So I'm blessed and I won the lottery. And every single day I wake up, I embody that. And I give praise and I give thanks for all of those things and many others. And this is what I teach in my household. We are a praying family. So humility is the first principle that everybody needs to embody in order to teach financial principles in your household. The second thing is generosity. And not just generosity as it pertains to your income, but generosity as it pertains to your time. It's important that our children and our homes see us as fathers giving of our money and giving of our time, because that in essence shows an additional amount of appreciation. Because the Bible says, humble thyself or be humble. So if I walk and I'm humbled, then I also understand that I'm appreciative and grateful for what I have. If 0 is the benchmark, and in reality, I've taken a bank account past 0, like 800 in the negative, so 0 is not even really the benchmark. But if 0 is the benchmark, and I have, say, 100, is it a bad thing for me to give 5 of my 100 to someone who has none? See, we live in a country where most of us are blessed that I got enough shoes to match a lot of my outfits. Whereas there's over 1 billion people in this world that have 1 pair of shoes, and that's it. And so it's just being grateful and appreciative and then giving back and showing that I'm grateful. It isn't just saying it, but it's showing it so they can see it. My brother got a book. What's it called? In order to be one, he has to see one. The third principle is patience. If you're talking about wealth creation, we can look out and we can see all of these different examples of people who just are thrust into stardom and fame and wealth and all of these things, but you can't judge somebody's life based on the moment that you walk into their life, because I don't know what you're going to look like in 5 years or 10 years. But what I can tell you is the true wealth generation, in order to achieve true economic empowerment, you got to understand patience. And so how we teaching this in my household is that we're taking it back now. And we're learning how to live off of the land. Put your hands in the soil, because there's nothing that can teach you patience more than learning how to farm. If you know, you know. These are principles that you have to walk and you have to embody every day. Again, the ways in which our counterparts are able to do things to give economic empowerment to their community or to give generational wealth to their children is a little bit different. There's a brother by the name of Dr. George Fraser. He wrote a book called Success Runs in Our Race. And in there he talks about how Jewish families, what they do is that when the son gets married, they buy him a house. And if they're not in a position to be able to buy them a house, what they do is they at least give them the down payment for the house. Now, the first thing you think of is that, man, listen, if when I got married, if my mom would have bought me a house, if she bought it today, I bought a $450,000 house, and she just gave me the down payment, that means I walk into a home with $90,000 equity. But let's back up a second and we're talking about principles. Because if you knew that if you got married after you left my house, and I was gonna buy you a house of your own, you would move different out here. You wouldn't be thinking about who's gonna give up the skins, you're thinking about who's gonna make a good wife for my household. And we would move different. So again, the principles by which we need to pull ourselves up are just a little bit different than some of our counterparts. So what he says is that if only 44% of African Americans are homeowners, I can't give that gift. Not all of us can give that gift of giving a home or a down payment to our children. So how we create generational wealth in our community, what he says is that we first make sure that our sons, when they graduate high school, they can read, write, and they can do math at a college level. Because here's the thing. You gotta make sure that they can compete at the highest level. Now, I got a homeboy, and this is one of his favorite sayings. He likes to say, I would rather say I is a millionaire than to have more degrees in the thermometer and still be broke. That's the reality. So education isn't the only predicate to make sure that you can be successful. I know some ignoramuses that are out here with big pockets. But we're not talking about them. What we're talking about is setting a new standard. If you want to be able to compete at the highest level and avoid poverty, avoid lower class, avoid being middle class, and set yourself up for success, you need to be able to read, write, and do math at a college level. The second thing is that once they graduate and can read, write, and do math at a college level, they need to not have any felonies. Now, as somebody who has more felonies than Donald Trump, I got my first felony at 14, and I understood right away that there was a lot of doors that had just closed that would never open for me again. Now, in my household, we teach ownership. We teach ownership of everything. We teach ownership of property. We teach ownership of investments. We teach ownership of our own labor and intellectual property. But the reality is that everybody isn't a business owner and everybody isn't an entrepreneur. So if I want to make sure that I set you up for success, I need to make sure that every door and opportunity stays open to you. And if you don't got a felony when you graduate high school, the world is yours. I can't understand for the life of me how I can see brothers out here that ain't never been in trouble with the law and can't make good on what God has blessed them with. Money don't grow on trees, but food does. And then the third thing is that you graduate high school, you can read, write, and do math for the college level. You don't have any felonies, and don't have no kids. Be wise in how you utilize your body out here every single day.
Yes, sir.
Now, I teach this class, and then I'm gonna get up out of here. It's called Financial Accountability, Create Wealth to Scratch. And there's some brothers that could probably do a much better job of teaching this class than me, so I'm not going to go into detail on all the 5 keys, but there's 5 keys that I believe that, again, you must embody and then you must teach in your home in order to have and be able to exercise true economic empowerment. The first one is you need to understand money. And by understanding money, you need to understand that money is just a construct. You need to teach your children what currency is. Paper currency, coin currency, fiat currency, digital currency. You need to teach them about different investment vehicles, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. You need to teach them about credit. You want to be able to give your child a good leg up when they come into the world, get them a Capital One credit card and make them an authorized user. So that when they turn 18, they don't start at 0, and now you got a cosign for everything. I've empowered you to be able to go out here and make your own wise decisions. So they need to understand what money actually is. The second thing is you need to understand assets and liabilities. The reality is that if you go into most homes, it's filled with a whole bunch of liabilities. That's why when people move and they gotta have a yard sale, it's a bunch of stuff they end up throwing away because you bought a whole bunch of liabilities. But some of our counterparts, you go to their home, they're having an estate sale. And all of that stuff got value to it. So we need to understand and teach the difference between assets and liabilities. The third thing is we need to understand saving and budgeting. It's hard to create wealth if you don't know how to save and you don't know how to budget properly. The fourth thing is smart investing. Not every investment is a smart investment unless you learn. I've been having my ass handed to me a few times in the market, and I appreciate that because it's taught me a lot about what not to do or whose information I shouldn't take. But the last key is, and I said it already, generosity. If we really talking about community economics, then what we need to embody in our home is the spirit of giving back. Service to many leads to greatness. And my brother said, he says, I'm nothing more than a servant. So if you can't teach our children, we can't teach our children how to come into the community and be a servant without an ask, then we failed as parents. Thank you, brother.